we're going to move on with our international press review with Flo Villamino. Hi there.
Hi, Kat.
We're going to start off with one of our top news stories of the day, the latest events in eastern Ukraine.
Absolutely. It's front page news in many parts of the world. It's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. You can see it talks about how Ukraine has ordered a retreat, and you can see a photo of a tank, a Ukrainian army tank, leading a column of trucks out of the strategic city of Debaltseve. Now, according to witnesses, it was quite a panicked retreat under fire. You can actually read about it in the Kiev Post. That's a Ukrainian paper. You can see it talks about the escape from Debaltseve. Ukrainian soldiers tell about how they got out alive. Now, President Petro Poroshenko, he's the commander-in-chief, he says that he personally gave an order to soldiers to retreat on February the 17th. But according to this article, soldiers say they were going to leave anyway because they felt trapped. To quote one of the soldiers, the Ukrainian soldiers, said, if we stayed there, we would definitely either be captive or dead. Now, The Independent is also focusing on this in their international section today. The British paper talks about the bitter retreat, and it says that Ukraine really withdrew reluctantly from Debaltseve, but they didn't have a choice given the siege that was being waged by pro-Russian rebels, a siege that Kiev and the West have called a violation of the very fragile Minsk ceasefire agreement.
Okay, meanwhile, one of the main actors in that ceasefire agreement, Russian President Vladimir Putin, getting a lot of criticism.
Absolutely. The Washington Post, the American paper, really lashes out against the Russian president in their editorial today. You can see here, it talks about how Russia marches on uninhibited in eastern Ukraine. Vladimir Putin's latest victory in Ukraine is turning into a rout. And the editorial says that, first of all, Vladimir Putin induced Western leaders to endorse this ceasefire plan that virtually guarantees Russia or pro-Russia troops control over many parts of eastern Ukraine. And now his forces have been assaulting this city. It's a brazen violation of a ceasefire. Those are the words used in the Washington Post. I also pulled out a cartoon in the Independent today. And to understand this cartoon, you have to know that this week engineers in the UK found that limpets teeth are the strongest biological material ever tested. A limpet is a mollusk, actually, that lives in the sea. And you can see Vladimir Putin depicted as a limpet, really sinking his teeth there into Ukraine, so not likely to let go anytime soon.
Very highbrow cartoon there from The Independent. Let's move on now to the UK. We've just been talking about this a few minutes ago. We're talking about this row over this video that's emerged of Chelsea football fans here in Paris pushing a black man off a train in the Paris metro and then chanting, "We're racist." It was a huge media storm yesterday, and there's more today.
Continuing today, a lot of outrage in the British media, it must be said. I pulled out just a couple of articles, but it's a really big story today. First of all, The Guardian talks about racists in Paris and how this presents a depressing image not only of Chelsea, but football and Britain in general. Now, the Daily Mail points out that the Chelsea Football Club has called this an abhorrent incident and has actually appealed for witness information to try and identify these fans.
Well, there were a lot of other people on that train, weren't there? A lot of them were Chelsea supporters, so perhaps people do know these identities.
Exactly. There were reportedly between 40 and 50 of these Chelsea supporters. So the club is trying to identify them, and if it succeeds in doing so, it's going to ban them from future matches. The French and British police are also trying to identify these football fans. And under French law, actually, the voluntary racial violence on public transport is a crime that is punishable with up to 3 years in jail.
Gosh.
It's important to note, though, that some of these fans have come out to say that they were not acting in a racist manner. They said that they pushed the man off the train because there were too many people, perhaps also because he was a PSG, Paris Saint-Germain supporter. Now, The Independent reports that this kind of incident, unfortunately, is not rare. And you can see the headline here. It says, if you think that racism in this video is a one-off, you're dangerously wrong.
Okay, let's move on to another story. China rang in the new year yesterday, so Happy New Year to you and Happy New Year, Kate, as well. Is the year going to be the year of the sheep, the goat, or something else?
There is a semantic debate over this question. You can read about it in the New York Times. Basically, the word is yang in Mandarin.
I know it well.
It's a very
fluent
note, but it doesn't really. No one knows how to translate it. Is it a sheep? Is it a goat? It seems like Chinese people don't care about that kind of distinction, according according to the New York Times. But it's already caused some controversy in Hong Kong. The chief executive, C.Y. Leung, yesterday, he gave a lunar New Year's greeting, and he called on people in Hong Kong to draw inspiration from the sheep, act more like sheep. So
follow orders a little bit more.
Follow orders a
Very
little bit more.
interesting.
This is very controversial, especially because he's nicknamed the wolf by his detractors.
Oh, goodness me, you can read a lot into that, I'm sure. Thanks very much for that and the rest of the International News Review. That's Flo Villamino.